Hello students, welcome back to the Fluid Mechanics Laboratories. In this video we will going to look at the percentage energy loss taking place through the hydraulic jump. So you know that hydraulic jump is a perfect example for rapidly varied flow. Why rapidly varied flow? Because depth of flow is changing in large amount over the shorter span of length. And while doing so, if hydraulic jump is taking place, we can say there will going to a greater amount of energy losses. Today we will going to look in this video that what is that energy loss taking place through the hydraulic jump. If hydraulic jump is getting formed, what is that magnitude of hydraulic head losses or energy losses taking place? So this we can determine theoretically also as well as experimentally also. So today we are going to calculate the energy loss by both methods, theoretically as well as practically, and we are going to check whether practically or whether theoretical value is matching with the practical or not. So this is again a verification or validation also. Let us come to this theory or this discussion prior to actual start of the practical. So we know that this is again the hydraulic jump. This is section number 1 or supercritical section. This is subcritical section. Hydraulic jump is formed. It is a transition between supercritical to subcritical. So this will be the Y1 at depth at section number 1, Y2 depth of flow at section number 2. Practically, how we can determine the head loss taking place between these two sections? We know that there is the Bernoulli's equation, and Bernoulli's equation can be written as, that is, total energy Z1 plus Y1 plus V1 square upon 2G will be equals to Z2 plus Y2 plus V2 square upon 2G. So this is the Bernoulli's equation. It represents that total energy at section number 1 will remain constant compared to total energy at section 2. Okay, so first of all what we will do is we will determine total energy at section number 1, then we will determine total energy at section 2, and we will take the difference between this total energy. The remaining component is nothing but the head loss between this section 1 and 2. You know that this Bernoulli's equation is valid for ideal type of flow. Okay, but here we are talking about real type of fluid flow. Therefore, we know that yes, of course, there will going to be a head loss. After all, hydraulic jump is taking place. So, of course, magnitude of head loss will be very large. Yes. So, total energy at section 1, can I calculate like this? Z1 plus Y1 plus V1 square upon 2G. Same way, total energy at section 2, I can write Z2 plus Y2 plus V2 square upon 2G. Since channel is horizontal, I can neglect this Z1 and Z2. So remaining is Y1, V1 square by 2G, Y2, V2 square by 2G. So look here, Y1, yes, I can observe, I can have this observations practically, experimentally. Y1, yes, it is known to me. V1, yes, I can determine by discharge upon A1 area. Same way Y2, I can observe the Y2 and I can determine the value A2. So once I have the values of Y1, V1, Y2, V2, I can determine the actual head loss taking place between section 1 and 2. So this is nothing but delta E. Delta E, I can write total energy at section 1 minus total energy at section 2. So this is nothing but the actual, I can write this actual energy loss. So this is a one way to determine the energy loss through the hydraulic jump. Another way is here we have an equation, and by this equation we will get the theoretical energy loss. What is that equation? This is nothing but Y2 minus Y1 whole bracket cube divided by 4 Y1 Y2. So once we know Y1 and Y2, we can make use of the equation, and theoretically we can determine the energy loss. So this is one way, theoretical. This is another way, actual or practical or experimental. So by following both these ways, we will going to identify, we are going to determine the energy loss taking place through the hydraulic jump, and we are going to check whether theoretical matches with the practical or not. If not, then what are the different calculations or what are the different conclusions of it? Okay, so this is as far as the theory part related to the energy loss is concerned. So here we will get the magnitude of energy loss. If we want the percentage energy loss, we can determine like this: percentage energy loss, it will be equals to, I can write delta E upon total energy at section 1 into 100. So if I use this equation, I will get the percentage energy loss. Okay, so this is how we have to perform today, and we have to check whether this theoretical matches with practical. If yes, then no problem. If not, then what are the possible reasons of it? Okay, so let's proceed with the experiment. In experiment, we are going to again observe Y1, Y2 and discharge, and the rest of the part is all about the calculations. Okay, calculations and checking or validation. Okay, so let's continue. Let's go to the experiment. So first of all, we will going to look at it to its construction. Okay, so this is the water tank through which we will going to. This is called the sump tank also. So the water is filled in this tank. So from this tank we will going to pump the water. So here if you observe, so the arrangement what we have done, so pump is there, it is submerged in the water, so pump is there. So from there we are going to pump the water. So this is the discharge operating valve. So by using this valve we can operate the discharge as per our choice. So water is, once we pump the water through this tank, it is following the path, let us say this one. So through this pipe, this is an inlet for this white pipe. So from there, if you observe, water is freely falling. See, here water is coming, and from here again it is coming in the upward direction, and then it flows over the length of this channel. Okay, so this is the construction, and again after it flows through over the total length, then again this is the measuring tank. So this measuring tank we will going to make use of to determine the actual discharge flowing through this channel section. So here if you observe, area of the tank is given, that is 0.18 meter square. So instead of directly following this, you can determine you can measure the width of this channel section by the scale and length of the channel section. So you will be available with the cross-sectional area and time taken to accumulate, to collect the water, let us say. So for determining, to measure the depth of water in the measuring tank, here we have inserted one piezometer. So by using this we can calculate how much water is being collected in the measuring tank for a given time. So if therefore area into this depth, it gives the volume. If we divide that volume by the time taken, it gives us the actual discharge flowing through this channel section. So if you observe to this channel section, so this is the width. This is a width of channel, and this is called this is nothing but 10 centimeter width. Okay, inner this is 10 centimeter. So this is the width of channel, and depth of channel we can determine here. So if you observe, scales are attached here. So at this cross section we can measure the depth of flow. Again same way we can measure the depth of flow at this section also. Same way here also. One more section is there. So at any section which you feels comfortable, you can measure the depth of flow. Width, it is 10 centimeter. So you can determine the area of channel section also. So this is in short a construction of a tilting fluid. And here for making the motor on and off, so this is the operation. So once we push the button on, motor will get started. So I will going to show you how the water is flowing. So let me start the pump. So if you observe, pump has been started. Water started. See, water is coming here. So yes, so water is started flowing through this channel section. So if you observe, so here we can observe what is the arrangement we have done in order to allow the flow of Here we can observe what is the arrangement. So this is the pipe. Again, if you observe, this is perforated pipe. So here we have ensured there should be a less turbulence. Therefore, we have went with the perforated pipe, and again water is coming in upward direction, and here from this point onwards it starts flowing in the channel. So I will here make an obstruction to the flow by placing this tube. Now if you look, the surge is taking place, and that's water surge, or whatever we can say the flow is in the opposite direction. So we look here. So we'll just wait. Once again, I think there is a need to put one more block. So I will going to put this one more block. Yes. So now if you observe, here this is hydraulic jump. So we will just wait for 1 more minutes so that that jump will stable its location somewhere. So I think here if you observe, this is a perfect location for our hydraulic jump. It has been formed. Yes, so now I think, yes, we can observe here. So this is hydraulic jump. See here the depth. This is hydraulic jump. So here up to this section, depth is this much only. But if you look beyond this section and up to, let us say, beyond this section here, depth is suddenly increased and over a short period of length. So therefore, this type of flow between this is section number 1, and let us say this is section number 2. This is called as the rapidly varied flow and hydraulic jump. So look here, there are tremendous turbulence here. Okay, so we can make use of this turbulence. Industries, they used to make use of this turbulence for different type of purposes. If we add some chemicals here, if we want to mix that chemical vigorously, we can add in this zone so that we can make use of this turbulence. Okay, so there are different applications of this turbulence so that we can make use of this turbulence. Okay, now the point is, yes, we have formed the hydraulic jump in between this section. So 2 observations we will going to perform. First is the Y1, that is the supercritical depth. So if you observe here, it is almost 20 mm. Exactly, this is almost, let us say, little bit more. So we can assume 20. Okay, so it is fluctuating since flow is supercritical, velocity is quite more. So we will assume the Y1 as 20 centimeter. And if you want to measure Y2, again you can make use of this. Okay, so look here, Y2 is almost 75, or in between, let us say 73 or 74 somewhere. Okay, so 2 observations we can have. So observe this hydraulic jump. So this is very interesting phenomenon. So how the length or how the depth of flow is changing over a shorter length. So that's why therefore it is called as a rapidly varied flow. And we have artificially generated this hydraulic jump in this tilting tube. Okay, I think you got the concept of how to form the hydraulic jump in the tilting tube and how to note down the Y1 and Y2. Observation of Y1 and Y2, we have to determine the actual discharge flowing through this channel. So for this, I think you can refer to the video that is already I have told you how to determine the discharge by using measuring tank. And in that video, that is determination of Manning's constant for a channel. In that video, if you can refer to that video, I have told you I have demonstrated in front of you how to determine the discharge by using measuring tank. You can refer to that video. So once you measure the discharge, so from that discharge you can determine the velocity at section number 1, and if you put the velocity and the y1 in the Froude number equation, you can determine the Froude's number for this type of flow, and depending upon that Froude number you can classify the type of hydraulic jump. So this is as far as the problem statement is concerned related to the identifying experimentally the types of hydraulic jump. Okay, so that's it as far as this practical is concerned. Thank you for watching this video. I wish you a happy day.